Aja Wilson did wrong was knowing that she had a shoe and continuing to push the narrative that she was being fucked over by Nike, which started the whole hate train towards Caitlin Clark in the WNBA.
The WNBA did not slowly drift into chaos this time. It flipped upside down in a matter of hours, and the spark was one commercial nobody expected to carry this much weight.
To an extent, but like it got really bad. It got really, really bad. And to be fair, like Caitlin Clark got taunted.
Caitlin Clark drops her newest Nike campaign, and before the league can even catch its breath, Aja Wilson responds in a way that sends shockwaves through fans, players, and front offices alike.
Came out on Christmas Day.
What follows is not just a social media flare-up or a temporary distraction. The fan base splits almost instantly. Bias accusations fly from every direction.
I have heard some people out there say things like, Caitlin Clark doesn't have the motion she used to have.
Timelines flood with side-by-side breakdowns, conspiracy theories, and emotional reactions.
And every time I've heard that, I just kind of shake my head because I'm thinking...
And suddenly, this is no longer about sneakers or marketing aesthetics.
Gives us some insight, some information on what the holdup could have been for Caitlin Clark's signature shoe to come out. She's talking about a specific new technology.
It becomes a referendum on power, respect, and who actually drives the future of women's basketball.
Caitlin Clark is 90% of the reason why the WNBA is even in a question for a locket right now.
At first glance, people want to frame this as a personal issue, a reaction, a moment of frustration. But when you strip away the noise and actually examine what happened, the truth is far more structural.
Caitlin Clark is the only reason why these players are making $1 million a year. Let's be completely honest.
This was not an accident. This was not poor coordination. This was a deliberate corporate decision colliding with a league that is still learning how to handle star power.
In the Nike store today, and it said AJ on there, I'm guessing you would have named a lot of other athletes before you got to Aja Wilson.
Picture the contrast clearly. One commercial receives the full cinematic treatment, storyboards, creative meetings, multiple revisions, long production schedules, high-level approvals, expensive catering, real locations shut down for filming, a campaign treated like it might live forever. The other feels like something assembled under pressure.
Caitlin Clark's newest commercial, the most original commercial that they have had in recent memory.
Grab a familiar tune, change a few lyrics. Hope nostalgia carries the message across the finish line. That gap is not subtle. It is loud, visual, and impossible to ignore once you see it.
Of all the past commercials they've dropped over the last 5 to 10 years, this Caitlin Clark From Anywhere campaign seems to be the most creative.
This is where the narrative starts to spiral, because people keep insisting this has nothing to do with feelings or favoritism.
Aja Wilson is insecure.
But when you place the two campaigns next to each other, it becomes obvious that one is fighting to create a lasting cultural moment, while the other seems content to pass quietly through the algorithm and disappear into next week's forgotten content pile.
Hit piece on Caitlin Clark attacking the fans, and trying to diminish her accomplishments.
Aja Wilson's Nike spot feels like watching a substitute teacher roll in an old TV and hit play on a dusty motivational tape.
That's why I'm not a big fan of Time magazine picking Aja Wilson for Athlete of the Year. I think this was pre-planned.
It relies on a children's song almost everyone learned before they could walk.
They're saying a lot of crap about Caitlin Clark, her accomplishments.
The words are slightly changed. The beat is familiar, and the hope is that nostalgia will do the heavy lifting. It works in the most technical sense. Nothing is broken. Nobody can call it a failure. But it does not demand attention. It does not spark conversation. You are not texting friends to watch it. You are not replaying it. It exists, then it moves on. Then Clark's commercial arrives and takes over the room. The substance has weight. The humor lands because it is rooted in real situations, not forced jokes. The setting feels lived in, but elevated. The cameos make sense within her public narrative instead of feeling randomly assigned. Every detail feels intentional, and that level of effort is not trying to hide itself. Nike absolutely sees this distinction. They They do not accidentally spend millions and stumble into symbolic messaging. Launching Clark's campaign on Christmas Day, exactly 4 decades after Michael Jordan's legendary holiday spot, is not a coincidence unless Nike's marketing department suddenly forgot how calendars work. That date matters. It is a signal, a marker, a declaration that this athlete is not just another name on the roster, but someone they believe can anchor an era. It is Nike quietly telling the world that they see Clark as a generational investment, not just a sponsorship obligation. This is where the situation becomes complicated, because A'ja Wilson is not some fringe player who stumbled into relevance. She is accomplished, decorated, respected, and not without reason. But Clark brings a different kind of gravity. Not better, different. The kind that moves merchandise instantly, packs arenas regardless of opponent, dominates social media discussion without effort, converts casual viewers into long-term followers. Nike does not operate on sentiment. They operate on momentum. And right now, Clark's momentum is undeniable. Brands do not care about fairness in the abstract. They care about impact. They care about what travels. They care about what turns attention into revenue. Clark is generating that kind of heat right now, and Nike is responding exactly the way global corporations always do when they sense a cultural shift. Watching Clark's commercial unfold feels like a movie crew invading a quiet suburban street and turning it into a production zone overnight. One moment, everything is normal. The next, there are trucks, lighting rigs, cameras, permits, security, and famous faces taking over the environment. That scale of disruption only happens when there is absolute confidence in the final product. Nobody shuts down a neighborhood because they feel casual about the outcome. That level of disruption only happens when a company is fully committed to the result and confident the payoff will justify the cost. Street closures, equipment trucks, lighting rigs, permits, and security are not creative afterthoughts. They are signals of belief. When a brand is willing to inconvenience an entire area, it is announcing that the campaign matters and that the athlete at the center of it is worth the trouble. By contrast, Wilson's spot could have been filmed in a single afternoon without disturbing anyone. No permits to secure, no traffic redirected, no crowd control required, no large-scale production footprint left behind. That difference is not accidental, and it does not exist in a vacuum. Whether Nike intended to send a message or not, that contrast communicates priorities clearly to anyone paying attention. The celebrity appearances in Clark's campaign are also not random flexes or casual favors. They represent strategic alignment. These are figures who already exist in the same media ecosystem as Clark, with overlapping audiences, shared platforms, and cultural relevance that extends beyond basketball. Their presence reinforces the idea that Clark sits at the intersection. Those cameos also serve another purpose. They anchor Clark's image inside a broader narrative that feels modern, connected, and expansive. The message is not simply that she is a great player, but that she belongs in rooms where influence is exchanged, not just trophies. That distinction matters in an attention-driven economy where relevance is measured by reach as much as results. Wilson's commercial, on the other hand, feels disconnected from any larger story arc. There is no signature line that people repeat, no visual moment that lingers, no concept that invites conversation or reinterpretation. When the ad ends, it resolves cleanly and disappears, leaving no emotional residue behind. That absence is not a reflection of Wilson's ability or impact as a player. It is a reflection of how much creative weight the campaign was asked to carry. This is the point where bias accusations explode. When two athletes under the same corporate umbrella receive visibly different levels of creative investment, people naturally question what is driving those choices. Fans are not dissecting production value for fun. They are reading it as a proxy for how much belief a brand has in each athlete's future reach. From Nike's perspective, the logic is brutally simple. Clark generates engagement at a level that demands response. Her presence moves conversation, merchandise, and attention in measurable ways. Wilson, despite her accolades and sustained excellence, does not currently command that same magnetic pull in the broader cultural space. That difference, fair or not, is what drives decisions in modern marketing. And once those decisions are made publicly, they stop being abstract. They become visible, debatable, and emotionally charged, especially inside a league still learning how to navigate star power in real time. That does not diminish Wilson's greatness. It exposes how modern marketing operates. The MVP trophy does not guarantee the Michael Jordan experience. Excellence does not automatically equal cultural dominance, and this situation makes that reality impossible to ignore. Nike's choice to align Clark with Jordan's legacy is not casual praise. It is a massive financial risk. They are betting that Clark can redefine women's basketball marketing in ways that extend far beyond the sport itself. That is a wager with consequences if it fails. But Nike has never been afraid of bold bets when momentum points in one direction. Now she is watching someone else receive the full royal treatment, and that shift has to be disorienting. Popularity does not ask permission. Influence does not wait for approval before it changes direction. This entire situation reveals a truth professional sports rarely acknowledge out loud. Relevance is fluid, and corporate investment follows buzz faster than achievement. Clark's rise does not erase Wilson's legacy, but it absolutely reshuffles the visibility hierarchy. Nike knew this comparison would happen. They did not stumble into it. By placing these campaigns into the same conversation window, they guaranteed analysis, arguments, and tension. From a business standpoint, the logic makes sense. From a league stability standpoint, it is destabilizing. The real question is not whether Wilson deserves more investment. You can make that argument easily. The real question is whether Nike believes equal investment would produce equal returns. Their answer, based on their actions, appears to be no. That answer stings, but it reflects how global brands operate in an attention economy. Content that blends into the scroll does not get more money thrown at it. Content that disrupts attention does. This marks a genuine turning point in WNBA marketing strategy, not a temporary detour or a one-off experiment. Once a global brand publicly identifies its cornerstone athlete, every decision that follows is inevitably measured against that choice. Other players notice immediately. Other sponsors begin recalibrating their own strategies. Fans read between the lines and adjust their expectations. Nike has effectively told the world who they believe will define the next chapter of women's basketball from a commercial and cultural standpoint. That kind of declaration does not exist in isolation. It comes attached to resources, symbolism, and emphasis that ripple outward through the entire league. Budget allocations shift. Creative teams adjust their priorities. Media narratives follow the money. Whether this bet pays off over the long term is still an open question, but the line itself has already been drawn and cannot be erased. A'ja Wilson remains elite, accomplished, and universally respected within the game. Her resume speaks for itself, and nothing about this moment diminishes what she has earned on the court. But cultural influence does not always track perfectly with competitive dominance. The center of gravity has shifted, and Caitlin Clark has stepped into that space without hesitation or apology. The league is now adapting in real time, and this will be remembered as the moment when marketing priorities became impossible to ignore. What keeps this situation alive is not the commercials themselves, but the standard they quietly established. Once a brand as influential as Nike makes a statement this clear, maintaining the illusion of a flexible hierarchy becomes increasingly difficult. The pecking order may not be official, but it becomes visible, and visibility changes behavior. Every future campaign, sponsorship deal, and promotional rollout will be compared to this moment, whether brands want that comparison or not. The league has entered an era where attention drives investment, and investment begins shaping legacy long before careers reach their natural conclusions. That shift fundamentally alters how players are evaluated off the court. Wilson now occupies an uncomfortable middle ground. Her accomplishments demand respect, yet her marketing gravity no longer guarantees automatic centrality. That gap is jarring in a league that spent years telling its stars that excellence would eventually translate into visibility and influence. For many, this feels like the promise was rewritten without warning. Clark's emergence did not simply challenge that narrative. It rewrote the rules in real time. Momentum bulldozed tradition, and the change happened faster than institutions were prepared to manage. Once that shift occurs, it cannot be undone through messaging or balance statements. Even if Wilson continues to collect trophies and accolades, the center of gravity has already moved. Brands rarely fight that current. They follow it, amplify it, and build around it. That is how influence consolidates. This moment will not be remembered solely for the controversy or the debate it sparked. It will be remembered as the point where dominance gave way to influence, and influence became the new currency that everyone in the league now has to chase.